بر محمد وآل محمد صلوات اللہم صلی علی محمد وآل محمد وعجل فرجہم. زینب السلام علیہ کے منقبت کے 3-4 شعر پیش کروں گا آپ کے سامنے. کیا بتاؤں مقام زینب کا، کیا بتاؤں مقام زینب کا، اسم اعظم ہے نام زینب کا، کیا بتاؤں. میں تو کیا خود قصیدہ پڑھتے ہیں، میں تو کیا خود قصیدہ پڑھتے ہیں، میرے بارہ امام زینب کا، کیا بتاؤں. تیرے در پر بھی آئے گا جبریل، تیرے در پر بھی آئے گا جبریل، تو بھی ہو جا غلام زینب کا، کیا بتاؤں. اللہ اللہ تیری قسمت، اللہ اللہ تیری قسمت، تجھ کو آیا سلام زینب کا، کیا بتاؤں. سارے نبیوں سے کہہ رہا تھا خدا، سارے نبیوں سے کہہ رہا تھا خدا، دیکھا تم سب نے کام زینب کا، کیا بتاؤں. اور بن گیا خود علم سا کاغذ پر، بن گیا خود علم سا کاغذ پر، لکھ رہا تھا میں نام زینب کا، کیا بتاؤں. چل رہا ہے عزا کی صورت میں، چل رہا ہے عزا کی صورت میں، دو جہاں میں نظام زینب کا، کیا بتاؤں. ماتم شاہ یزید کا گھر، ماتم شاہ یزید کا گھر، دیکھ لو انتقام زینب کا، کیا بتاؤں. دیکھتا ہے حسین کا سجدہ، دیکھتا ہے حسین کا سجدہ خود بھی رو کر قیام زینب کا کیا بتاؤں. بہت شکریہ. تیرا ہم سر نہیں ہے میر کوئی، تیرا ہم سر نہیں ہے میر کوئی، کیونکہ تو ہے غلام زینب کا کیا بتاؤں. اور محمد علیہ محمد صلوات.
بر محمد وآل محمد صلوات. برائے خوشنودی امام زمانہ بلندتر صلوات. جشن کی مبارکباد سب سے پہلے میں قائم منتظر امام مہدی علیہ السلام کی خدمت میں پیش کرتا ہوں، اور اس کے بعد آپ سب لوگوں کو بہت بہت مبارک ہو جناب زینب کی ولادت کا جشن. پر محمد وآل محمد صلوات. جناب زینب کی شان میں ایک کلام. زینب کلام پاک کی آیت کا نام ہے، زینب کلام پاک کی آیت کا نام ہے، زینب حسن حسین کی چاہت کا نام ہے، زینب دل حسین کی دھڑکن کا نام ہے، زینب رسول پاک کے گلشن کا نام ہے، زینب تو پنجتن کی طہارت کا نام ہے، زینب فروغ دین کی حفاظت کا نام ہے. صلوات پڑھیں. جس کی ردا کے سائے میں جو بچے پل گئے، وہ کائنات میں سب سے آگے نکل گئے، دنیا بھلا سکے گی نہ جس کے کلام کو، اشکوں سے جس نے پھونک دیا ملک شام کو، اب تک ہر ایک یزید کا چہرہ سیاہ ہے، زینب کلام پاک کی آیت کا نام ہے. درود پڑھے محمد وآل. خطبے کے ہر ایک لفظ لفظ کو تلوار کر دیا، جینا یزید دشت کا دشوار کر دیا، ٹھوکر سے قصر شام کو مسمار کر دیا، اسلام کے سفینے کو اس پار کر دیا۔ آباد القمہ پہ ہے ہستی شہید کی، اس کی نظر سے ڈوب گئی کشتی یزید کی۔ محنت امیر شام کی برباد کر گئی، دل کو غم حسین سے آباد کر گئی، بنوا کے ہاتھ قوم کو آزاد کر گئی، قلب رسول پاک کو شاد کر گئی، زخمی کیا دماغوں کو خطبے کے وار سے، بیعت کو قتل کر دیا لہجے کی دھار سے، جس کی مثال ملتی نہیں اب کائنات میں، لغزش نہ آنے دی کبھی پائے ثبات میں، کتنا نہ جانے زور تھا زینب کی بات میں، بیعت کو غرق کر دیا نہر فرات میں، زینب اسیر ہو کے جدھر سے گزر گئی، قوموں کو واقف غم شبیر کر گئی، جو پتھروں کی بھیڑ میں الماس بن گئی، باد حسین بچوں کی جو آس بن گئی۔ درود پڑھے محمد والے محمد۔ کوثر کبھی بنی تو کبھی پیاس بن گئی، دربار شام آیا تو عباس بن گئی، دربار شام آیا تو عباس بن گئی، پیروں کے آبلوں سے جو خنجر کچل گئی، جو فکروں کی حدوں سے بھی آگے نکل گئی، کوئی ملا جواب نہ خطبے کے وار کا، سر جھک گیا حیا سے ہر ایک نابکار کا، یوں حوصلہ نکالا دل بے قرار کا، ارے خطبوں سے اپنے کام لیا ذوالفقار کا، ماتم سے ظالموں کے دلوں کو ہلا دیا، دربار شام کو تعزیہ خانہ بنا دیا، جس نے غرور شام کے خیبر کو ڈھا دیا، سوئے ہوئے ضمیر کو جس نے جگا دیا، بیعت کا نام خاک میں جس نے ملا دیا، ارے جس نے غم حسین کا سکہ چلا دیا، دو ہاتھ آگے بڑھ گئی جو ذوالفقار سے، نسل یزید کاٹی چادر کی دھار سے، جس نے غم حسین کو مقدر بنا دیا۔ آخری شعر، ارے جس نے غم حسین کو مقدر بنا دیا، آنکھوں کو جس نے چشمہ کوثر بنا دیا، زینب کلام پاک کی آیت کا نام ہے، زینب کلام پاک بر محمد وآل محمد صلوات، اللہم صلی علی
محمد وآل محمد صلوات۔ خواہر حسین بنت فاطمہ، خواہر حسین بنت فاطمہ، کیا بتاؤں میں زینب کی کیا شان ہے، کیا بتاؤں میں زینب کی کیا شان ہے، کل ایمان کے ایمان کا مان ہے، کیا بتاؤں میں زینب کی کیا شان ہے، کیا بتاؤں میں زینب کی کیا شان ہے، یا علی یا علی وہ محمد جو ہے خاتم الانبیاء، جس کو کہتی ہے دنیا حبیب خدا، جس کا داماد ہے زیغم کبریا، جس کی بیٹی ہے خیر نساء فاطمہ، اس محمد کے دل کا یہ ارمان ہے، کیا بتاؤں میں زینب کی کیا شان ہے، یا علی یا علی اللہم صلی علی محمد وآل محمد، کیا بتاؤں میں زینب کی کیا شان ہے، شجاعت کی ملکہ اسی کا لقب، اس کے قدموں میں ہے سرزمین عرب، کربلا بھی ہے زندہ اسی کے سبب، اس کی مدد کرے خود محمد کا رب، عقل اس کے فضائل پہ حیران ہے، کیا بتاؤں میں زینب کی کیا شان ہے، کیا بتاؤں میں زینب کی کیا شان ہے، یا علی یا علی خوبیاں جس قدر ہے سبھی خوب ہیں، روب ایسا کہ کونین مرعوب ہے، سامنے اس کے غالب بھی مغلوب ہے، آیت اس کی صورت سے منسوب ہے، جس کو قرآن پڑھے یہ وہ قرآن ہے، کیا بتاؤں میں زینب کی کیا شان ہے، کیا بتاؤں میں زینب کی کیا شان ہے، یا علی یا علی اللہم صلی علی محمد و آل محمد، کیا بتاؤں میں زینب کی کیا شان ہے، یہ نہ ہوتی تو مر جاتا اسلام بھی، مٹ گیا ہوتا خالق کا پیغام بھی، کوئی لیتا نہ اللہ کا نام بھی، کوئی لیتا نہ اللہ کا نام بھی، دین ہے یہ بھی زینب کا احسان ہے، کیا بتاؤں میں زینب کی کیا شان ہے، کیا بتاؤں میں زینب کی کیا شان ہے، کربلا ہے ندا اور منادی ہے یہ، دو اماموں کی ایک ساتھ ہادی ہے یہ، دو اماموں کے ایک ساتھ ہادی ہے یہ، راج کرنے کی بچپن سے عادی ہے یہ، دو جہاں کی بڑی شاہزادی ہے یہ، بادشاہ وفا جس کا دربان ہے، کیا بتاؤں میں زینب کی کیا شان ہے، کیا بتاؤں میں زینب کی کیا شان ہے، یا علی یا علی اللہم صلی علی محمد و آل محمد، اس کے خطبے خطابت کے سردار ہیں، اس کے نانا شریعت کے سردار ہیں، باپ اور ماں شرافت کے سردار ہیں، دو بڑے بھائی جنت کے سردار ہیں، چھوٹا بھائی وفاؤں کا سلطان ہے، کیا بتاؤں میں زینب کی کیا شان ہے، کیا بتاؤں میں زینب کی کیا شان ہے، یا علی یا علی بے وفا ہے یہی فقر آل ابا، بے ردائی ہے جس کی وفا کی ردا، اس کا ممنون ہے دو جہاں کا خدا، اس کے بارے میں کہتی ہے خود کربلا، محسن دین پر تیرا احسان ہے، کیا بتاؤں میں زینب کی کیا شان ہے، کیا بتاؤں میں زینب کی کیا شان ہے، مقطع ایک آدمی صاحب، کوئی عظمت میں ان سے زیادہ نہیں، ان کے گھر سے بھی گھر کوئی اعلیٰ نہیں، ان کا نوکر ہوں میں، کوئی مجھ سا نہیں، خلد کی کوئی گوہر کو پرواہ نہیں، خلد تو قصر زینب کا دالان ہے، کیا بتاؤں میں زینب کی کیا شان ہے، کیا بتاؤں میں زینب کی کیا شان ہے، یا علی یا علی کل ایمان کے ایمان کا مان ہے، کیا بتاؤں میں زینب کی کیا شان ہے، کیا بتاؤں میں زینب کی کیا شان ہے، سلوات
اعوذ باللہ من الشیطان الرجیم، بسم اللہ الرحمن الرحیم، الحمدللہ الذی لا یبلغ مدحتہ القائلون ولا یوسی نعمہ العادون ولا یؤدی حقہ المجتہدون، الذی لا یدرکہ بحد الہمم ولا ینالہ غوث الفتن، الذی لیس لصفتہ حد محدود ولا نعت موجود ولا وقت محدود ولا اجل ممدود، فطر الخلائق بقدرته ونشر الرياح برحمته ووتد بالسخر ميدان عرض، ثم الصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين وحبيبنا وحبيب رب العالمين بالقاسم محمد وعلى أهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين، واللعن على أعدائهم أجمعين من أول يوم ظلمهم إلى قيام يوم الدين. أما بعد، فقال الله سبحانه وتعالى في كتابه المبين وقوله الحق، بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم، واتقوا الله ويعلمكم الله والله بكل شيء عليم، صدق الله العلي العظيم. Dear brothers and sisters, assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. As you're all aware, we are commemorating the wiladat of Hazrat Lady Zainab salawatullahi alaiha, and in narrations there are two. When it comes to the months, there are 2 months where they say that it's either the 1st of Shaban or this night, the 5th of Jamadil. Oh, well, tonight is the 5th of Jamadil Ula, but some narrations they say that it is the 7th of Jamadil Awal. It's either the 1st of Shaban or the 7th of Jamadil Awal. And tonight is the 5th, I know, but it becomes a problem for everyone to gather so many times in a week, so we decided that, you know what, because it's coming, we'll do it on the 5th. But when it comes to this great personality, it's amazing that this type of personality existed, this personality did everything she did, alaykum salam wa rahmatullah. But when it comes to her and her biography, many of us don't even understand, or we don't understand what impact Lady Zainab had, not just over Islam, but over our lives 1400 years after she passed away. For example, the Nohas that we recite, who was the first one to recite Nohas? It was Lady Zainab al-Islam through her sermons. If you read the sermons that she has, you see that there's so much lamentation about Abu Abdullah al-Hussein al-Islam in those sermons. So those sermons, they had 2 objectives. One was Marsiya, one was lamentation about Abu Abdullah al-Hussein al-Islam. The second was to tell the people about what happened. to Imam Hussein alayhi salam. You see that 1400 years after she passed away, there's a group of Muslims that holds on to that, and we do the same thing. One. Two, her sermons, if you read her sermons, what was her objective in those sermons? Imam Hussein alayhi salam, he had an objective. Lady Zainab salawatullah, she was continuing that objective. Imam Hussein alayhi salam, he did it he sacrificed himself to achieve that objective. Lady Zainab salawatullah, she sacrificed what? What did she sacrifice? She sacrificed her children. That's absolutely true. That's absolutely true. But not only did she sacrifice her children, but she was sacrificing her own life also. What do I mean? In Islam, it's wajib for a man to go to jihad. Correct? Meaning what? Meaning that if there's a requirement, if there's a need for men to come to jihad, it's wajib for a man to go to jihad. But is it wajib for a woman? It's not wajib for a woman to go to jihad. No, it's not. It's not wajib for a woman. But does that mean that women... No, it's not wajib. Yes, it's not wajib. Okay. It's not wajib for a woman to go to jihad. Correct? If there's a need for men, then it becomes wajib on the men to go. But if there isn't a need, and ulul amr says there isn't a need, then there isn't a need for men to go to jihad. But Lady Zainab sallallahu, does that mean that the sawab that is there for a shaheed, does that sawab does not exist for women now? The sawab that there's there for a shaheed, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is completely just. He's adil, correct? There's a certain sawab there for a shaheed. What is the sawab for a shaheed? Do you all know? The sawab for a shaheed is that they are in heaven. They will go to heaven without any questioning. Correct? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is completely just. When you claim that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is completely just, is there something equivalent for the women? Where if they do it, then there's no questioning for them. They go to heaven. Is there something like that for women? Yes, there is in Islam. There is. Something equivalent where, no, it's not jihad. There is a jihad, but their jihad is different. There's one jihad that is wajib for only and only men. But there's one jihad that is wajib for men and women. Jihad al-Asghar is wajib for men. Jihad al-Asghar is wajib for men. The lesser jihad is wajib for men. But Jihad al-Akbar is wajib for men and women. Jihad al-Akbar is wajib for men and women. What is Jihad al-Akbar? Jihad al-Akbar is that jihad that Lady Zainab sallallahu fought. Jihad al... Allahumma salli ala Muhammadin wa ala Muhammad. Jihad al-Akbar is that jihad that the Holy Prophet talked about. When some of his companions came back from jihad, the Holy Prophet, he greets them by the door of Medina, by the gate of Medina, and he says to them, congratulations, you've just come back from the lesser jihad. You've just come back from the lesser jihad. Now it's for you to do the greater jihad. Now it's for you to do the bigger jihad. The companions asked him, Ya Rasulullah, what is this greater jihad? The Holy Prophet answers, the greater jihad is the jihad against your nafs. The greater jihad is the jihad against your soul. Tell me, is there a greater jihad for a woman than to be patient at the murder of her children? Is there a greater jihad for a woman than to see her brother get sacrificed, her brother get martyred in her eyes? No. Abu Abdullah al-Hussein alayhi salam, what did he tell Lady Zainab before he was leaving for his last attack? He calls Lady Zainab, alaykum salam, he calls Lady Zainab, he calls Lady Kulthum. He tells both of them that I'm going to go now and I'm not coming back. This is my last farewell. And he tells both of them that I want you to remember my last words. My last words and my last wishes to both of you is to be patient at every single trial and tribulation that will happen after I pass away. To be patient. The greater jihad is to take the words of a masoom in those times of difficulty and hold steadfast to those words of the masoom. The greater jihad is what Abu al-Fazl Abbas alayhi salam did within that lesser jihad. What do I mean? Abu Abdullah al-Hussein alayhi salam, he told Abu al-Fazl Abbas, Ya Abbas, I don't want you to take your sword. I don't want you to take your sword. The greater jihad is if the Imam tells you during battle, I don't want you to take your sword, you say, Mawla, you know better than me, you're my Mawla, I won't take my weapon. That's the greater battle. Or else, what does your soul tell you? Your nafs will tell you, I'm in battle, hold on. Why shouldn't I take my weapon? If I take my weapon, there's a good chance that I'll come back alive. If I don't take my weapon, I know for certain that I'll get killed. That's what your nafs tells you. Correct? But the greater jihad in that situation is saying that my Mawla has told me not to take this sword, I'm not going to take this sword. Allahumma salli ala Muhammadin wa ala Muhammad. My Mawla has told me to take a spear with me, I'm going to take this spear with me. My Mawla has commanded me to only and only bring water back to the camp. I'm only going to try and bring water back to the camp. That's the greater jihad. The greater jihad for Lady Zainab is what? Imam Hussein alayhi salam, he tells her, whatever happens and everything that happens after I'm martyred here, I want you to be patient. One. Two, the greater jihad is Abu Abdullah al-Hussein alayhi salam says, no matter what happens after I'm gone from this world, I don't want you to do bad dua to these people. I don't want you to condemn these people. That's greater jihad. If someone was to kill, for example, one of our brothers, one of our sisters, what is the first thing we do? We seek revenge. Thank you so much. We try and seek revenge. If that's not the case, what do we do at the very least? We get so angry, we say, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala send you to hell. We start cursing. Correct? It goes from getting mad, that madness, it boils up. The first thing that you do, you start cursing. And then it leads to that seeking of revenge. Correct? Abu Abdullah al-Hussein, he tells both of his sisters, I don't want you to condemn them. I don't want you to condemn them. Correct? That's the greater jihad. The greater jihad is Abu Abdullah al-Hussein telling his sister Zainab that after I go, I want you to pay specific attention to, and I want you to look after my daughter Sakina. That is the greater jihad. The greater jihad is adhering to the laws, the commands of the Ahlul Bayt al-Imsam, no matter what situation you're in. If you look at the lives of all the Masumeen, you see that they were in every type of situation a human being can be in. Look at the lives of all the Masumeen, all of them together. Meaning what? How should you be when you're in jail? Do we not have Masumeen that were in jail? Yes, we do. So we look at that aspect of their life. How should you be when you're in jail? Do we not have Masumeen that were leaders? We do. So if you get a position where you're a leader or you're leading people, a position of power, we have Masumeen that tell us how to live your life when you have that type of position. When you're being oppressed, we have Masumeen that were oppressed. All of them were oppressed, but they weren't in a position of power. When you look at their life, we understand, or we can take out ways of living our life according to that situation. Correct? You look at the life of Lady Zainab sallallahu alaihi wasallam. What kind of life did she live? Look at that life. She was born onto the lap of the Holy Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Allahumma salli ala Muhammadin wa ala Muhammad. Look at her life and examine it. She was born in the house of Risala, the 1st of Shaban or the 7th of Jamadi. Who's coming with the name? Jibreel alayhi salam. Jibreel himself, he comes with the name of Zainab. The same way he came with Hassan and Hussein, he comes with Zainab. This tells you the status of the children of Lady Fatima. I say Lady Fatima, why? Because Amir al-Mu'mineen had children from other wives. But even amongst all of the children of Amir al-Mu'mineen, they used to differentiate between Banu Fatima and Banu Ali. They used to say that these are Banu Fatima, these are Banu Ali. Meaning what? Meaning Lady Kulthum, Lady Zainab, Imam Hassan, Imam Hussein, they used to say that these are Banu Fatima. Banu Fatima, correct? Whereas everyone else, the children of Amir al-Mu'mineen, for example, Muhammad Hanafiya, for example, Abul Fazl Abbas alayhi salam, for example, Uthman, for example, all of the other brothers of Abul Fazl Abbas alayhi salam, they used to say that they were Banu Ali. This was the reason that al-Baneen, she gave to her children saying that these are Banu Fatima, these are the children of Fatima. Do not ever think that you are their equal. Lady Zainab, she's born into the house of Risala. She is born into that house when Rasulullah, he is at the center of Islam. He's at the center of Islam, correct? Rasulullah passes away. What happens? Amir al-Mu'mineen's rights get taken away. Lady Zahra, her rights get taken away. The parents of Lady Zainab, their rights get taken away. Now what's happened? Now Lady Zainab, even though her status in the eyes of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is up there, what has the community tried to do? They've tried to bring that status down. Look at the way Lady Zainab, she lives in that time period. What is she doing? In that time period, she's still with her father, she's still with her mother. You'll say, hey, hold on a second. At that time, Lady Zainab, she's very young, 5 years old, 6 years old. 5 years old, 6 years old. Okay. Amir al-Mu'min, Lady Zahra, she passes away. You look at the way she took care of that house. You look at the way she took over, or she looked at what happened to her mother and her grandfather. They passed away. Then she's living with Amir al-Mu'mineen until the time of marriage. Amir al-Mu'mineen still does not have khilafat yet. He still does not have khilafat yet. After Usman passes away, then he finally becomes Khalifa. He finally becomes Khalifa. When he becomes Khalifa, Lady Zainab, again, what happens? They're at the center of the Islamic community again. Meaning what? Meaning when the Ahlul Bayt were at the center of the Islamic community, all the women, they would come to Lady Zahra to ask them questions or ask her questions about Islam. The questions that dealt with womanly matters, they would come to Lady Zahra and ask. Correct? When it came to tafsir, Lady Zahra, inshallah, when the shahadat of Lady Zahra comes, many people don't know this, but there were 2 sermons that Lady Zahra gave. One sermon was for the usurpers, the other sermon was for the women. There are 2 different sermons. Many people, they think that there was only one sermon. Many people, they think that there was the attack, or the people, they came to the doorsteps of Lady Zahra just one time. No, they did not come one time. They did not come one time. They came, according to some narrations, 3 different times. And it was the 3rd time when they finally burnt that house down. Inshallah, when the shahadat of Lady Zahra comes, we'll look at that whole scenario and we'll put into the places where all of those incidents happened. What happened first? Was Fadak taken first? What happened first? All of this. When was he shaheed? When did all these incidents happen? But when the Holy Prophet was at the center of Islam, the women, they would go to Lady Zahra and they would ask her questions about womanly matters. When it came to fiqh, they would ask her questions about interpretation of the Quran. When Lady Zainab, when she was the center of Islam, where was the Khilafat at that time? Amir al-Mu'mineen had changed it to Kufa. What would the women of Kufa do? They would come to Lady Zainab and they would ask her the same types of questions that Lady Zahra would have to answer. Meaning what? They'd come to her and ask her about fiqh questions. Meaning what? They'd come to her and ask her about Islamic questions. Lady Zainab thought, in the beginning, from a time of happiness, a time of sadness, then a time of happiness again, then a time of sadness again. Correct? Isn't that how everyone's life is? It follows that. There's some times when you're happy, there are times when you're sad. But you look at how Lady Zainab, what she did with that time when it was a time of happiness for them. And you ask yourself, what are you doing when it's a time of happiness for you? You look at how she sacrificed her time for Islam. And you ask yourself, what are you doing? Even in times of sadness, she was sacrificing herself for Islam. Those sermons that she gave, like I said in the beginning, they were supposed to achieve two goals. That revolution that Abu Abdullah al-Hussein alayhi salam wanted to achieve, it was Lady Zainab's sermons that achieved them. It was Lady Zainab's sermons that achieved them. Her sermons and Abu Abdullah's sacrifice, they go hand in hand. Without that sacrifice, Lady Zainab would not be able to give those sermons. And without those sermons, Abu Abdullah al-Hussein alayhi salam's sacrifice, where would it have gone? It would have been forgotten. That's why Lady Zainab's revolution makes that second half of the revolution of Abu Abdullah al-Hussein alayhi salam. That's Allahumma salli ala. That's why if revolution was a coin, one side would be Abu Abdullah al-Hussein alayhi salam and what he did, the other side would be Lady Zainab and what she did. There are two sides to the same coin. You look at the life of Lady Zainab. This verse that I started this lecture off with, Surah Al-Baqarah. Wattaqullah. Fear Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Fear Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Be God-fearing. وَيُعَلِّمُكُمُ And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will teach you. Be God-fearing and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala himself, he'll teach you. Allah says this in Surah Al-Baqarah. Other than the Imams, we all know that none of the Imams, they learned from anyone. They didn't go to any person to learn. Their knowledge was directly from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Correct? This is the verse. If you fear Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He will teach you. You might say, they're masoom. They have isma. Other than the 14 masumeen, when a masoom himself, he says, إِنَّهَا عَالِمَةٌ غَيْرُ مُعَلِّمَةٌ. When a masoom himself, he says that she's a scholar that has not been taught. Who were those scholars that were not taught? The Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam were those scholars that were not taught by anyone. Imam Zain al-Abidin, he's saying that she is a scholar that has not been taught. If she hasn't been taught, then who gave her the knowledge of the Quran? Who gave her knowledge of tafsir? This is where this verse comes in. If you fear Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will teach you. And in her time period, you see that she was so God-fearing, she had so much taqwa, that she wouldn't even miss her Salatul Layl. That's how God-fearing. So God-fearing that she, not only would she not miss her Salatul Layl, what does it mean when an Imam tells you not to forget him in your Salatul Layl? What does it mean? When an Imam tells you, oh my sister, please do not forget me in your Salatul Layl. It tells you that this lady must have a maqam in the eyes of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for the imam of the time to say, do not forget me in your prayers. If she didn't have a status, if she had no maqam, then there's no need for imam to say that. You don't hear those words where the imam says that to other companions. You only hear what? That the imam has said this to Lady Zainab sallallahu ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. إنها عالمة غير معلمة. 1. 2. عابدة آل علي. She was the one who was given that title, Abidatu Ali Ali, the worshipper of Ali Ali. Meaning what? The worshipper of the children of Amir al-Mu'mineen. The worshipper of the children of Amir al-Mu'mineen. Abidatu Ali Ali. What does it tell you about your ibadat when you've been given that title of Abidatu Ali Ali, when all of the people in that household are abids? What does it tell you when you've been given that title of Abidatu Ali Ali, when your nephew is Zainul Abidin? What does it tell you about your ibadat? She must have a status in the eyes of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. If she didn't, then the imams would not give her these types of titles. They would not say that she's a scholar that has not learned from anyone. They would not call her a scholar. They use the word scholar to describe Lady Zainab. Why is this significant? Imam Jafar, according to some narration, Imam Jafar Sadiq alayhi salam, according to other narration, Allahumma salli ala Muhammadin wa ala Muhammad. According to other narrations, it's Imam Muhammad Baqir alayhi salam. Whichever of the two Imams they are. They go to Sham. When they go to Sham, they see that a group of Christians are going up to the mountains. When they go up to the mountains, Imam, he asks the Muslims there, what is going on? Is this some sort of holiday? And the people, they tell him, Ya ibn Rasulullah, this isn't a holiday. It's just that once a year, this worshipper of the Christians, this monk of the Christians, he comes to this mountaintop, he comes to this hilltop, and he answers whatever questions that they have. Imam, he looks at them, he goes, should we go with them? Imam, he goes with them, and the Muslims go with him also. When they go with him, Imam, he sits down, and the monk, he asks, do you have any questions? Imam, he says, I do. The Muslim, when the Christian, he sees the Imam, the first question that he asked the Imam, do you all know what it was? He asked the Imam, are you an alim or are you a jahil? The first question that the Christian asked the Imam is, are you an alim or are you a jahil? What does the Imam reply? The Imam, he replies that I'm not jahil. He replies that I am not jahil. He doesn't say that I'm an alim. He stays quiet on that. He doesn't say that I'm an alim. He says that I am not jahil. The person who says that I'm not jahil and he stays quiet about him being an alim, he is the one who's saying to Lady Zainab that you are an alim. He is that person who's saying that she's an alim. He's not even quiet about her ilm. He comes out and says that she's an alima. What does that tell you about the ilm that Lady Zainab had? 1, 2. Lady Zainab's status, when it comes to her shahadat, her wafat, some people, they say that she's buried in Sham. Some people say that she's buried in Egypt, correct? Whether it's Egypt or Sham, the ones that say that she's been buried in Sham, what did they say? They say that in Medina there was a drought. When there was a drought, her husband, he had places in Sham, so he goes to Sham. When he goes to Sham, he calls her. when he calls Lady Zainab, her husband, some people are looking confused. Who's Lady Zainab's husband? Abdullah ibn Ja'far. Thank you so much. Abdullah ibn Ja'far, he's over there in Sham. When he's over there in Sham, he calls her. When he calls her, it's on that journey that they say that Lady Zainab, she passed away in Sham. Correct? 1. 2. The ones that say that she died in Egypt or she was martyred in Egypt, there is one narration that says that she was martyred. But the narrations that say that she passed away in Egypt, what do they say? They say that when she came back to Medina, she didn't stop about the revolution of Abu Abdullah al-Hussein al-Islam. She would continue to get the people to rise up against the government of Yazid. And it got to a point where the governor of Medina, he wrote a letter to Yazid. And he told her, or he told the governor, that you should send her out of Medina. Ask her what country she wants to go to, and you should send her. You should send her there. Some narrations, they say she didn't want to go anywhere. But it was who? It was the daughter of Muslim ibn Aqil who convinced her that you should go somewhere for the sake of Islam. And this is the reason that I don't agree with this narration, that Imam Zain al-Abidin alayhi salam is there. Imam Zain al-Abidin is there. If anyone, she would be listening to Imam Zain al-Abidin. If her husband isn't there, if her husband has left her in Medina, then she would be listening to Imam Zain al-Abidin. He's the Imam of the time, correct? But those narrations, they say that she chose to go to Egypt. And that's why you have a mausoleum in Egypt. She came to Egypt and she passed away in Egypt. But if you look at this narration and you analyze this narration, Imam Zain al-Abidin is in Medina. If Lady Zainab was causing such an uproar in Medina, what was Imam Zain al-Abidin doing then? If it was going to be so detrimental to Islam, then it would be Imam Zain al-Abidin that would tell her to either, oh my auntie, don't do this, or oh my auntie, go somewhere. It would be Imam Zain al-Abidin, not the daughter of Muslim ibn Aqil. Correct? This is why I don't agree with this narration that she went to Egypt because of what she was doing in Medina. If she was doing that in Medina, the first person that Yazid would call would be Imam Zain al-Abidin. 1. This is why, according to some scholars, they say that she's definitely in Sham, and she went to Sham not because of some sort of drought, or not because she was causing so much problems in Medina. No, it's because she had made a promise to Abu Abdullah al-Hussein alayhi salam. And that promise was she would look after Sakina. That promise was that she would look after Lady Sakina. And when they left Sham, she left Lady Sakina back. And this is why some of the scholars, they say that she went to Sham. Why? To keep that promise. To keep that promise. And on her way there, there's about 2 narrations I've read where she was lamenting. She was reading Noha, she was reading Marsiya about what happened to Abu Abdullah al-Hussein alayhi salam. When she was reading this, the neighbor overheard, and he was a staunch advocate of Yazid lanatullah. When he overheard this, when she was praising Abu Abdullah al-Hussein alayhi salam, what does he do? There's one narration that states that she was struck on the head with a boulder. She was struck on the head with a rock. And it was that rock, when she was struck on that head, that's what caused her to be Shaheed. There's 1 or 2 narrations that say that she was Shaheed. 1, 2, even if that narration is incorrect, you have to remember the very famous sayings of the Aimah alayhim salam, that anyone that dies with the love of the Ahlul Bayt in their heart, they are Shaheed. Anyone that dies with the love of the Ahlul Bayt in their heart, they are Shaheed. Once they're Shaheed, what will happen to them? I asked in the beginning, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is all just. I said in the beginning that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is all just, and He has made an avenue for males that, hey, you go to jihad when it's wajib on you, when it becomes wajib on you, you go to jihad. If you do jihad for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, if you do jihad, then you will go to heaven without any hisab, without any kitab. You will go to heaven without any questions, correct? And I said, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is all just. So is there an equivalent for women? Correct? Look at how easy. One, if you pass away with the love of Ahlul Bayt in your heart, you've died the death of a shaheed. If you die with the love of the Ahlul Bayt in your heart, you've died the death of a shaheed. Was there anyone that loved Abu Abdullah al-Husayn more than Lady Zainab sallallahu alaihi wasallam? One. Two, you go back. Anyone that dies with the love of the Ahlul Bayt in their heart, they've died the death of a shaheed. Was there anyone that loved the Holy Prophet more than Abu Talib alayhi salam? Was there anyone? No. The death of a shaheed. Even Sunni narrations, when it comes to Hazrat Abu Talib, he tells Amir al-Mu'mineen, Ya Ali, I want you to go do Sunni narrations. Please keep in mind, Sunni narrations. Ya Ali, I want you to go give him ghusl. If he was not Muslim, why is he being given ghusl? Ya Ali, I want you to shrood him. If he wasn't Muslim, what's shrood? These are what you do when a Muslim dies. The bathing, Sunni narrations. Ya Ali, I want you to go do this. But when it's time to put him in the ground, I want you to call me. I want you to call me. It's the Holy Prophet who goes. Why is the Holy Prophet going? When you put him into the ground, I want you to call me. What's he going there for? If Nauzubillah Hazrat Abu Talib was a kafir. The Holy Prophet himself, he says what? He says that I will vouch for my uncle Abu Talib. Why? Because of the protection that he had given me. And the Muslims, they say that he was a kafir, Nauzubillah. Do you see? When I said that, is there an avenue for women? Yes, there is. One. Two, there is another, but we'll talk about that some other time. But if you look at the life of Lady Zainab, many people, they just say, men especially, they say, oh, this is Lady Zainab. Women should learn from her. Why? Is there nothing for the men to learn from? Is there nothing for the men to learn from Lady Zainab? If you look at her life, there's so much for you and I to learn. There's so much for men to learn. How do you stand up to a tyrant? Is that something only for women to learn from Lady Zainab, or no? Is it for men to also learn how to stand up to a tyrant? How to speak in front of a tyrant? Is that only for women to learn from Lady Zainab, or is that for men to learn also? How to be patient when your whole family, it gets slaughtered in front of your eyes. Is that only for women to learn, or is that for men to learn also? You look at the patience of Lady Zainab sallallahu. Compare it with the patience of the other prophets. Hazrat Adam alayhi salam, he lost one son. The narrations state that he cried for 40 years over that one son. Lady Zainab, she loses two sons, but she never cries over her sons. She cries over Abu Abdullah al-Husayn alayhi salam. You look at Hazrat Yaqub. His son did not even pass away. His son was just hidden from his eyes. But he cries to such an extent that his eyesight goes. You look at Lady Zainab, she loses two sons in front of her eyes, but she doesn't cry. Compare. You look at Hazrat Musa alayhi salam. When Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells him to go in front of, when he tells him to go in front of Fir'aun, what does Hazrat Musa say? He says, Ya Allah, send my brother with me. When it's time for Lady Zainab to go in front of Yazid, she doesn't say, Ya Allah, send my nephew with me. No, she's the one who speaks up. She's the one who speaks up against the tyrant. She doesn't say, Ya Allah, I want you to send someone else. No. Why is that? It's because before Imam Hussein alayhi salam passed away, what does he say? He says, Zainab, you are the one who's going to take care of this caravan. You are the one who's going to look after this caravan. And in that caravan is Imam himself. In that caravan is Ali Zainul Abidin. It's Abu Abdullah al-Hussein alayhi salam who's told Lady Zainab that you are the hafiz of this Imam now. You're the protector of this Imam. In reality, it should be the other way around. The Imam being the Imam, and Imam Zainul Abidin being a man, he should be the protector of the woman. Correct? That's how it should be. But Imam Hussein said, no. You are the protector of this Imam. Ya Ali. Ya Ali. La. Look at the protection. Look at the protection Lady Zahra gave Amir al-Mu'mineen. As long as Lady Zahra was alive, they said that we're not going to take bayat from Amir al-Mu'mineen. As long as Lady Zahra is alive. Correct? After she passes away, then they forcefully take bayat from Amir al-Mu'mineen. And how was that taken? There are narrations that say that Amir al-Mu'mineen, Umar he told Amir al-Mu'mineen to open his hands. Amir al-Mu'mineen didn't want to open his hands. When he didn't open his hands, he had them closed like this. And what does Abbas, the uncle of Amir al-Mu'mineen, do? He quickly takes Abu Bakr's hand and he puts it on Amir al-Mu'mineen and says that bayat is done. That was it. That's how the narration states that Amir al-Mu'mineen gave bayat to Abu Bakr. But whatever the case is, as long as Lady Zahra was alive, she was giving some sort of protection to Amir al-Mu'mineen. As long as Lady Zainab was alive, she was giving protection to Ali Zainul Abidin. Where the enemies would not dare hurt Imam Zainul Abidin as long as she's alive. When Shimr wanted to kill Imam Zainul Abidin in the tent, it was Lady Zainab who threw herself on top of Imam Zainul Abidin, saying, you have to kill me first. When they were taken to Damascus, when they were taken to Sham, and Yazid was told, when he asked, who is this? He says that this is Ali. And then that's when Yazid said, didn't all of Abu Abdullah al-Hussein's children die? And they said, no, he was sick. Lady Zainab was the one. She was protecting who? The Imam of the time. If she didn't have a status in the eyes of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, then why is Abu Abdullah al-Hussein alayhi salam making her a protector of Imam Zain al-Abidin? A protector of Imam Zain al-Abidin. Sallallahu ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. You compare her patience. You look at Hazrat Nuh alayhi salam. When his son was drowning, what does Hazrat Nuh say? He says, Ya Allah, that's my son. Ya Allah, that's my son. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, what does he say? He replies, Ya Nuh, he's not your ahl. He doesn't say, Ya Nuh, that's not your son. He says, Ya Nuh, that's not your ahl. Correct? Hazrat Nuh could not even stomach, or he could not even witness his son, who was a kafir, to drown in that flood. And he says, Ya Allah, what about my son? Lady Zainab, she's sacrificing both of her sons for Abu Abdullah al-Hussein alayhi salam. And she never says, Ya Allah, bring my sons back from the battlefield. Never once. When Abu Abdullah al-Hussein alayhi salam told her to be patient, how far did that patience go? It went all the way from Karbala to Kufa to Sham, back to Medina. It was back in Medina where some narrations they say that that was the first time that she cried over her two sons. That was it. And how long were they in that journey? Some people, they think that they were there just for 40 days. No, they were not there for 40 days. They were not there for 40 days. They have the narrations that say that, oh, they were in Karbala for Arba'een. Yes, they were in Karbala for Arba'een. But does that mean that they were in Karbala the same Arba'een? No. They weren't there in Karbala for the same Arba'een. If you look at how long it took for them to go from Kufa to Sham, it took months. If it took months, how were they back for the same Arba'een? If you look at how long they were there in the jail of Kufa, some narrations, they said that they were there in jail at the very least for 2 weeks. For 2 weeks. If they were there in jail for at least 2 weeks in Kufa, and what was happening? They would send a letter to Sham, to Yazid. They sent a letter, and they sent a letter, they attached a letter onto a rock and they gave it to, or they threw it in the jail cell telling them that we've sent a letter to Yazid, we expect a reply, it's going to take this many days to get to Sham, and it's going to take this many days to come back. And the narrations, they said that it was 2 weeks, 1 week to get there, 1 week to come back. If it took 2 weeks just for the letter to come back from the 13th of Muharram, now we're at what day of Muharram? 27th. 14 days. Correct? And it took them how long to get to Sham? How long do you want to make it? However long you make it, you have to make sure what? That they back in Karbala for that same Arba'een, and it's not possible. That's why people don't understand that they were there in jail in Sham for at least over a year. At least a year. Even the route that they were taking, there are narrations that say that they were parading the Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam along those routes. And people think that, oh, they were there just for 40 days and they came back to Karbala. No, they were not there just for 40 days and come back to Karbala. They were there for Arba'in, yes, but it wasn't for the same year. It was a year after. Sallallahu ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, الَّذِينَ إِذَا أَصَابَتْهُمْ مُصِيبَةً قَالُوا إِنَّا لِلَّهِ وَإِنَّا إِلَيْهِ رَاجِعُونَ أُولَٰئِكَ عَلَيْهِمْ صَلَوَاتٌ مِّن رَّبِّهِمْ وَرَحْمَةٌ وَأُولَٰئِكَ هُمُ الْمُهْتَدُونَ. Those that say when a misfortune befalls them, قَالُوا إِنَّا لِلَّهِ وَإِنَّا إِلَيْهِ رَاجِعُونَ, they say what? We are surely from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and we will return. Those are they on whom Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala showers His blessings and mercy. Showers His blessings and His mercy. And not only that, but those are the ones that are following the right course. You look at Lady Zainab. She was the one who was constantly saying, Inna lillah wa inna ilayhi raji'un. When she gets to Kufa, she's saying this. When she gets to Sham, she's saying this. When she gets back to Medina, she's saying this. So it's on Lady Zainab that these blessings have come down to. It's on Lady Zainab that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is showering His blessings. And inshallah, I do have some corrections about some questions that were asked last week, and inshallah the last 5-10 minutes I will take that time to answer those questions. But when it comes to the life of Lady Zainab, brothers and sisters, it's not something to be taken lightly, or it's not something to remember just for Muharram and then forget the rest of the year. It's not something for you to just remember for the day of Arba'in and then forget the rest of the year. No, 1, 2, look at her life. Analyze her life. From the birthdays that they have to the days of Shahadat, her life needs to be analyzed. Because some people, they have her status lower than prophets because they don't understand her. And inshallah, I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that He gives us a tawfiq to understand Lady Zainab Salawatullah life, I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that He keeps us on this path of Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that He hastens the reappearance of Imam Zaman al-Islam, and let us and anyone that wants to sacrifice their life for him and his cause be able to sacrifice their life for him and his cause. Walhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Brothers and sisters, please recite Surah Fatiha for your marhumin and the marhumin whose names are on the wall in the back. Bismillah. Bismillah. So I was asked a question last week, and there was a question that was posed after the lecture was over about short selling. Okay, and I did the research. Short selling when it comes to stocks is jaiz. Why? Because there is something that you're holding on to. Okay, it happens so quickly, you don't know that it's happened, or it happens so quickly it feels like you're not holding on to it. But what's actually happening, and they asked this question to Imam, the Imam Foundation that's here in, I believe, New York. I think it's in New York, or it's from Michigan. They asked that question about short selling, and they got the reply from Sayyid Sistani's office that no. As long as one, there's something that is being sold, something that is being sold. One, two, as long as whoever owns it or whoever you're borrowing it from gives you permission to sell it, it's jaiz. So when it comes to short selling, you're borrowing it from whoever, the market maker, the bank, whoever it is, you're borrowing it from them, but they're telling you that you have our permission to sell it. But when it comes time for you to pay us back, we want you to pay us back the stock, the shares. We don't care what happens if the shares go up in price, you're still going to pay us back 100 shares. If the price goes down, you're still going to give us back 100 shares, whatever profit it is you can keep. So you have permission from whoever you're borrowing it from to make this trade. So when it comes to this, I have to clarify that yes, it is permissible too. I was asked another question, but it was after the question and answer was over. Are you allowed, or is it permissible to invest in those types of companies that sell haram, or that engage in some haram business while also engaging in halal business? Okay, I believe they asked specifically about some of the stores, or some airlines, for example. Airlines, they engage in halal business, but they also engage in haram business. And what's the haram side? Thank you so much. The alcohol that they sell, that is haram, okay? Now you have to look into what your marja says. Some of them, they say that you can't invest in these types of companies altogether. Others, they say, no, if the halal is way more than the haram, then whatever profit you have, you're going to have to take away that same percentage of your profit. Meaning what? Meaning that if the halal, from 100%, if the halal is 95% and the haram is 5%, what are you going to have to do from your profits? You're going to have to take away 5% and give that as charity. So please, again, look at what your marja says on this matter. Some of the maraja, they say, no, you cannot invest in these types of companies altogether. Some of the maraja, they say, no, you could invest as long as the majority of it is halal business, and it's a very minute minority that is haram business. Clear? Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen.
السلام علیکم یا امیر المومنین، السلام علیکم یا سلطان الدین، السلام علیکم یا نبی علیہ السلام، السلام علیکم یا بنت رسول اللہ، السلام علیکم یا فاطمہ الزہرا سیدۃ النساء العالمین، السلام علیکم یا ابا محمد حسن مجتبی علیہ السلام زیارت وارث، السلام علیکم یا وارث آدم صفوت اللہ، السلام علیکم یا وارث نوح نبی اللہ، السلام علیکم یا وارث ابراہیم خلیل اللہ، السلام علیکم یا وارث موسیٰ کلیم اللہ، السلام علیکم یا وارث عیسیٰ روح اللہ، السلام علیکم یا وارث محمد حبیب اللہ، السلام علیکم یا وارث علی امیر المومنین ولی اللہ، السلام علیکم ابن محمد المصطفیٰ، السلام علیکم ابن علی المرتضیٰ، السلام علیکم ابن فاطمہ الزہرا، السلام علیکم ابن خدیجۃ الکبریٰ، السلام علیکم صار اللہ ابن صالح والوتر الموتور، اشہد انک قد اقمت الصلاۃ وآتیت الزکاۃ وامرت بالمعروف ونہیت عن المنکر وأطعت الله ورسوله حتى أتاك اليقين، ولعن الله أمة قتلتك، ولعن الله أمة ظلمتك، ولعن الله أمة سمعت بذلك فرضيت به. يا مولاي يا أبا عبد الله، أشهد أنك كنت نورا في الأسباب الشامخة والأرحام المطهرة، لم تنجسك الجاهلية بأنجاسها ولم تلبسك من مدرهمات ثيابها، وأشهد أنك من دائم الدين وأركان المؤمنين، وأشهد أنك الإمام البر التقي الذي يزكي الهادي المهدي، وأشهد أن الأئمة من ولدك كلمة التقوى والعام الهدى والقربة الوثقى والحجة على أهل الدنيا، وأشهد الله وملائكته وأنبياءه أني بكم مؤمن وبأبيكم موقن بشرائع ديني وخواتيم عملي، وقلبي لقلبكم سلم وأمري لأمركم متبع، صلوات الله عليكم وعلى أرواحكم وعلى أجسادكم وعلى أجسامكم وعلى شهادكم وعلى غائبكم وعلى ظاهركم وعلى باطنكم. زيارة مولانا صلى الله عليه وسلم. السلام عليك يا ابن أمير المؤمنين، السلام عليك أيها العبد الصالح رسول الله ورسوله، وأشهد أنك قد جاهدت ونصرت وصبرت حتى أتاك اليقين، لعن الله الظالمين لكم من الأولين والآخرين والحاكم بدرجك الجحيم. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وأشهد أن السلام. السلام عليك يا ابن رسول الله، السلام عليك يا ابن نبي الله، السلام عليك يا ابن أمير المؤمنين، السلام عليك يا ابن الحسين الشهيد، السلام عليك يا الشهيد وابن الشهيد، السلام عليك يا المظلوم وابن المظلوم، لعن الله أمة قتلتك، ولعن الله أمة ظلمتك، ولعن الله أمة سمعت بذلك فرضيت به. السلام علیکم یا اولیاء اللہ و احبہ، السلام علیکم یا اصفیاء اللہ و عبدہ، السلام علیکم یا انصار دین اللہ، السلام علیکم یا انصار رسول اللہ، السلام علیکم یا انصار امیر المومنین، السلام علیکم یا انصار فاطمہ سید نساء العالمین، السلام علیکم یا انصار ابی محمد الحسن بن علی الولی الناصر، السلام علیکم یا انصار ابی عبداللہ بابی انتم و امی تبتم وطابت الارض التي فيها دفنتم وفزتم فوزا عظيما، ويا ليتني كنت معكم فافوز معكم. السلام على الحسين وعلى علي بن الحسين وعلى اولاد الحسين وعلى اصحاب الحسين. السلام عليك يا محمد بن علي عليه السلام، السلام عليك يا جعفر بن محمد عليه السلام، السلام عليك يا موسى بن جعفر عليه السلام، السلام عليك يا علي بن موسى عليه السلام، السلام عليك يا مولانا غريب الغرباء، السلام عليك يا معين الضعفاء والفقراء، السلام عليك يا شمس الشموس انيس النفوس ايها المدفون بأرض الطوس، السلام عليك يا محمد بن علي عليه السلام، السلام عليك يا علي بن محمد عليه السلام، السلام عليك يا حسن بن علي عليه السلام، السلام عليك يا مولانا صاحب العصر والزمان، اللمان 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 من فتنة الزمان، السلام عليك يا خليفة الرحمن، السلام عليك يا شريك القرآن، السلام عليك يا إمام الإنس والجان، أجل الله تعالى فرجك وصال الله تعالى مخرجك وظهورك ورحمة الله وبركاته. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد، اللهم كل وليك الحجة ابن الحسن صلواتك عليه وعلى آبائه في هذه الساعة وفي كل ساعة وليا وحافظا وقائدا وناصرا ودليلا معينا حتى تسكنه أرضك طوعا وتمتعه فيها طويلا برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين.